Today's lesson is called Being a Bee is Not Easy. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff.
I am Roger. Today, we're going to talk about bees. No, not the letter B. We're talking about those insects, those bugs that can sting us if we're not careful, but usually they are beneficial. They pollinate flowers and stuff like that, and they help apples grow and things like that. So we love bees, but being a bee, if you are a bee, that's not an easy thing.
It's not an easy thing at all these days, apparently. It's tough being a bee. Being a bee is not easy. I believe our title says it best. Anyways, yes, there's the letter B. That's just the letter B. Then you might see the word be, to be or not to be. That is the question. Okay, that would be the word be. Then you have honeybees, that type of bee. That's spelled B-E-E. So, B-B-B-E or B-B-E-E. I hope that's clear. But the subject of today's lesson is the honeybee, even though in our title here we kind of have a pun. Being a bee is not easy. Ha ha ha. Well, let's just make sure that that distinction is totally clear before we move any further. Speaking of moving further, I say it's time for us to move further, to move on, and to get started with our lesson, and we'll do so right after this short break.
Being a bee is not easy. There's one insect that nearly everyone loves, the honeybee. It charms us with its delicious honey. But we also adore it for its furry black and yellow body, its complicated hive, and its role as an amazing pollinator. Bees make sure that crops with flowers produce the fruit and vegetables we consume. Some say bees are responsible for 1 out of every 3 bites we eat.
大家好，第一部分我们看到的单字是 furry， 这个字是形容词，指毛茸茸的或毛皮般柔软的。例如 The petting zoo had many furry creatures for the children to play with. 那座爱触动物园养了许多毛茸茸的动物陪小朋友玩耍。而 furry 去除字尾 ry 则成为名词 fur， 指动物的毛及毛皮。像是 I never wear coats or hats that are made of fur because it's too cruel to kill animals for fashion. 我从来不穿戴毛皮大衣或帽子，因为我觉得为了时尚，屠杀动物好残忍。
Okay, everybody, it's time for us to discuss today's lesson. Let's talk about the first part here. Being a bee is not easy, or it's not easy being a bee. You could say it either way. And there's one insect that nearly everyone loves, the honeybee. Okay, yes, I think most people like honeybees, and they're usually pretty cute. I think they have the yellow and black stripes, and they're kind of furry, and they're kind of cute. So pretty much everyone loves this particular kind of insect. Insects are bugs, so a honeybee, like a fly or a mosquito or whatever, that is also an insect.
There you go. And everybody loves honeybees. Well, they might not actually like everything about that insect. That stinger can hurt you quite a bit, but they're super cute. They're yellow and black, and they've got those yellow and black stripes, so they're cute for that reason. And they pollinate flowers and trees and stuff like that, so they're cool for that reason as well. But you can't forget about the honey. Yes, people love bees, but they really love the honey that honeybees produce. Yes, there's one insect that nearly everyone loves, the honeybee. Why? Because honeybees, well, the honeybee, I should say, the honeybee, it charms us with its delicious honey. You gotta love that honey. But there's more. But we also adore it for its furry, black and yellow body, its complicated hive, and its role as an amazing pollinator. Now, I did mention some of these things earlier, but still, let's go ahead and flesh everything out. First of all, yeah, everybody likes the way that honeybees look. They're very cute. They've got that black and yellow body with the black and yellow stripes, I should say, that alternate and go back and forth. But one thing I didn't mention is that furry body. Yes, honeybees do look like they're covered in adorable fur. It's quite cute. Yes, these honeybees with their furry black and yellow bodies, they're easily adored, or they are adorable. It's not hard to adore them. And that brings us to our first vocabulary word of the day, the word adore. It's a verb. If you adore something, you love that thing. You cherish that thing. You love it, you cherish it a great deal, or to a great extent. Like I could say this to my wife. I adore you, my dear.
Yep, it's similar to saying I love you, my dear, but adore just means you really love something, you really like something. So we do adore honeybees, yes, because of the honey, but also because of its furry body that is black and yellow. We also love bees, honeybees, for their complicated hive. Yes, they're kind of cool. If you've ever broken open a hive, you can see it's got all those little chambers. It's a wonder of nature as to how those bees can make those hives like that, and they just keep building and building, and they get bigger and bigger. So, of course, here we've got a featured vocabulary term, complicated. Complicated, that means it involves lots of different parts and factors and considerations. Perhaps it could be very complicated if your company wants to open a new market in the world somewhere. There's lots of things that you need to consider, lots of things that need to be done. It can be very complicated.
Yes, if something is complicated, it's hard to understand. It's not simple. It's not straightforward. It is not easy to understand. Like you could say, certain problems in physics are very complicated. Almost no one can solve them.
Or the engine in your car or your motorcycle can be quite complicated and difficult to fix if you have problems. But in any case, it does have a complicated hive. That, of course, is the place where the bees live. It's kind of round, and sometimes it's in trees and places like that. But we also love honeybees because they are amazing pollinators. A pollinator, of course, is an insect that pollinates plants. They move pollen. I think it's called huafen in Chinese. They move that pollen from one place to another, and then they pollinate the plant so that that plant can produce fruit.
There you go. Yes, they're pollinators. Yes, bees make sure that crops with flowers produce the fruit and vegetables we consume. They move the pollen from one place to another so that these crops with flowers, I should say, that flower is important when it comes to pollen. Yeah, these pollinating bees allow these flowering crops to produce the stuff that we eat, i.e., fruits and vegetables from these crops. And yes, get this, there's even more. Some say bees are responsible for 1 out of every 3 bites we eat, or 1 out of every 3 things that we eat. How about that? All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a short break, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
Let's take a look inside a hive. The head bee is the queen, and she might be in charge of upwards of 50,000 bees. How does she earn this special distinction? When the future queen hatches, she is no different from any other female bee. Worker bees raise the queen by choosing a larva and feeding her a special diet of royal jelly. Once queen, she spends her time laying a maximum of 1,500 to 2,000 eggs a day.
第二部分我们看到片语 upwards of 指超过或多于点点点。片语中的 upwards 为副词，表示向上或上升，后面多接上名词使用。举例来说 The new Italian sports car cost upwards of 8 million NT dollars. 那辆意大利新跑车售价超过新台币800万元。补充与 upwards of 同义的片语 more than 以及 in excess of 后面都是接上名词，所以可以说 A large cup of coffee costs 20 NT dollars more than a medium one. 大杯咖啡比中杯贵新台币20元。或者说 This elevator can hold nothing in excess of 2,000 pounds. 这座电梯无法承载超过2000磅的东西。接下来我们看到的单字是名词 distinction， 指优秀、卓越或差别。例如 There weren't any notable distinctions between the first few houses we looked at. 在我们一开始看的几个房子之间，并没有任何明显的差别。或是 Mark has the distinction of being the youngest person to ever win the competition. Mark 的优秀使他成为赢得这项比赛最年轻的选手。再来看到的单字是 larva， 是个名词，指幼虫、幼体。而 larva 的复数形除了在后面加上 s 之外，也有另一种写法 larvae, L-A-R-V-A-E, larvae。例如 The caterpillar is the larva of the butterfly. 毛毛虫是蝴蝶的幼虫。接着我们看到名词 maximum， 指的是最大值、最大量，像是 The maximum speed allowed on most US highways is 65 miles per hour. 美国大部分高速公路上容许的最高时速是65英里。而 maximum 的反义词为 minimum, M-I-N-I-M-U-M, 指最小值、最小量。例如Active dog breeds require a minimum of 30 minutes of exercise per day. 活动力大的犬种每天最少需要30分钟的运动时间。
Okay, everybody, let's continue with our lesson. We're talking about bees. Bees are quite fascinating creatures, and in the first part of our lesson, we talked about some of the reasons why we adore them so much. And we did mention they're a complicated hive. So here in the next paragraph, let's take a look inside a hive. Again, that's where all these bees live and where they produce the honey and stuff like that. Now, the head bee, the leader of the bees, is the queen, and she might be in charge of upwards of 50,000 bees. Here, upwards of just means the same thing as more than. This number and above, 50,000 bees. She is the queen of that many bees.
You could say that the international company employs upwards of 15,000 employees, which is pretty great. But that's nothing compared to what the queen can do in her hive. She might be in charge of more than or upwards of 50,000 bees, not 15,000, 15,000, but 50,000 bees, which is amazing. Now, how does the queen, though, become the queen? How does she, this queen bee, how does she earn this special distinction? It's a good question. That is a good question. Yes, by the way, what is a distinction? A distinction here is kind of like a title. It's something good, like a special title that sets you apart from others. It's your defining characteristic in some situations. But here we've got this queen bee. She is the queen. She's in charge. That's her special distinction.
Her special honor, her special distinction. And yeah, I guess she did not inherit this position like the royal family in England or something like that. But we'll find out how the hive selects their queen. When the future queen hatches, she is no different from any other female bee. So, of course, like a lot of animals in the animal kingdom, bees come from eggs. And, of course, if the baby bee is inside the egg, and then it comes out, it breaks open the egg, we say that the egg hatches. Or you could say the baby bee hatches from the egg, like little chicks hatch from chicken eggs, as an example here. So yes, the queen hatches, and she's just like any other female bee hatching from thousands of eggs there. She is no different from any other female bee. She's normal like the rest of them. No, she doesn't have blue blood or royal blood. She hasn't inherited the position. She's just like any other common bee.
Exactly. But with the queen, some things happen. Okay, over the course of her life, things happen that make her the queen. Well, first of all, worker bees raise the queen. Okay, they raise her by choosing a larva, that's the first thing, and then by feeding her a special diet of royal jelly. So she's just like any other female bee after hatching, but then the worker bees choose the queen by choosing a larva, and then they feed her this special diet. And then once queen, get this, she gets to work. Once queen, she spends her time laying a maximum of 1,500 to 2,000 eggs a day. Yes, this is how many eggs she can lay in a day at the most, at the upper ends of her ability. So yes, she at most lays 1,500 or 1,500 to 2,000 eggs a day. Yes, a maximum, by the way, is the highest amount possible of something. Like if you get into an elevator, there might be a maximum capacity for that elevator, okay? That would be the maximum number of people that can fit in that elevator safely. All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
The queen's subjects are either female workers or male drones. The vast majority are workers, which are kept busy collecting nectar and pollen, as well as building and cleaning the hive. Only a few hundred of the bees are drones. Their job is to mate with queens from other hives to ensure healthy bee populations.
最后第三部分我们看到的单字是 nectar， 这个字是名词，指的是花蜜。例如 Bees are busy collecting nectar and spreading pollen between flowers. 蜜蜂忙碌于在花朵间采集花蜜及散播花粉。
Okay, let's continue our lesson. Now we're talking about the queen bee. And remember, she was selected by the worker bees. They liked her for some reason. They fed her special royal jelly. And then once that larva becomes an adult and is the queen, boy, she can lay lots of eggs every day, a maximum of 1,500 to 2,000 eggs every day. Now, of course, the queen is in charge of all these other bees. So if you are the queen or the king, then everybody else is below you and they are your subjects. So the queen's subjects are either female workers or male drones. She is in charge of the female workers and the male drones. She is the head honcho there in the hive, and everybody else there are her subjects.
There you go. The vast majority of these subjects are workers, which are kept busy collecting nectar and pollen, as well as building and cleaning the hive. Now, here we've got this word pollen to talk about. We mentioned it earlier. Let's go ahead and define it right now. What is pollen? Pollen is a fine yellow powder that is released from the male part of a flower, okay? And this is used to fertilize the female part of a flower so that you can make a fruit or something like that. You can make a fruit or a vegetable even. Anyways, pollen is usually yellow, and it's made up of small microscopic grains. And here, pollen again. Pollen is carried by these bees. These bees are pollinators. They move it around so that these plants can be fertilized. Okay, by the way, pollen, it can be transported by insects like bees, but also by the wind and other things besides. Okay, now one thing. Everybody out there with allergies, I'm sure you guys all know what pollen is, okay? When pollen gets into your nose and you've got allergies, that can be a problem because pollen is a nasal irritant. It can cause people to have allergic reactions during the spring, those times when flowers are opening up, let's say, and pollen is being released into the air.
Indeed. So we've got nectar here, and we've got pollen being collected by the bees. Nectar, of course, is hua mi in Chinese, and pollen is huafan, if that helps you out. And, of course, those worker bees also build and clean the hive. Gee, I guess the male drones are just kind of sitting around watching TV, playing cards, and chatting with their buddies. But only a few hundred of the bees are drones. So there aren't very many drones there. Remember, they are males, and there aren't very many of them. Most of the hive are females, or is females there, and their job is to mate with queens from other hives to ensure healthy bee population. So if I had to be a bee, I certainly would want to be a drone because all they got to do is get together with queens from other hives. They mate with them. They produce children with those queens from other hives so that those other hives can have healthy bee populations, large numbers of bees that are healthy, but also a hive that has a lot of bees, a high population.
There you go, folks. With that, it's time for us to take a break, but don't go away. The Chinese teacher is on her way.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 说到蜜蜂，我们都会觉得他们很忙，嗡嗡嗡这样来匆匆去匆匆。那课文第二部分带我们到蜂巢里面来一窥究竟。这部分的第二句提到说 The head bee is the queen and she might be in charge of upwards of 50,000 bees. 群蜂之首是蜂后，她可能负责掌管超过5万只蜜蜂哦。句子里面的 upwards of 就表示超过什么什么。好，那么 in charge 它表示负责掌控。这个 charge 在这边当名词，它表示掌管啊，或者是有照顾责任的意思。当我们用 be in charge of再加名词或动名词，就表示负责或是掌控某事物。例如 Holly is in charge of organizing the party. Holly 她负责筹划那一场派对。那另外有一个片语 take charge of 也可以用来表达负责掌管某事物。像当你问说 Who will take charge of the next meeting? 就表示下一次的会议是由谁来主持呢？由谁来负责的呢？那我们接着读到课文第3部分的第一句The queen's subjects are either female workers or male drones. 蜂后底下的蜜蜂不是雌工蜂就是雄蜂。那么句子里面的 subject 在这边它是指隶属的臣民子民，也就是被统治者。那这边要介绍的是 either or 的用法。either or 这两个字必须去连接两个词性相同的字词。either A or B 就表示 A 或 B 的其中一个。不是 A 就是 B。 那当我们用 either or 来连接两个主词的时候，这个动词呢是要跟最靠近的主词一致，也就是要搭配主词 be 来做变化。例如 Either you or Jamie has to take out the trash. 你或者是 Jamie 其中一个人必须要去倒垃圾。那这个例句里面动词就是要配合最靠近的主词 Jamie， 所以是用第三人称单数动词 has。好，那么最后帮同学们补充一些表示动物群体的单位词。其实英文里面有很多修饰群体的计量词，然后会随着对象不同而异。我们就先从蜜蜂开始，像蜜蜂啊、蚂蚁这一类这种群聚型的昆虫，我们会用 swarm 这个字 S-W-A-R-M。A swarm of bees 一群蜜蜂， A swarm of ants 一群蚂蚁。不过蜜蜂跟苍蝇还有蚊子一样，你可能会在空中看到一整群，还蛮可怕的。这时候你可以用 cloud 云这个字来表示哦。 A cloud of bees 表示一群蜜蜂， A cloud of flies 表示一群苍蝇， A cloud of mosquitoes 一群蚊子。好，至于一群鸟，你说鸟也在空中飞一整群不是吗？不过一群鸟我们是用 flock F-L-O-C-K。 flock 这个字是用来指这种鸟啊、鸡啊、羊这种体型比较小的动物，像是 a flock of birds 一群鸟， a flock of sheep 一群绵羊。好，那么群居的动物像是牛啊、马啊、大象啊、斑马啊、鹿这些，我们是用 herd H-E-R-D herd。 像 a herd of cattle 就是一群牛， a herd of deer 一群鹿。好，再来还有pack 这个字 P-A-C-K。 这个字通常是用来修饰像狼或者是犬类，像是 a pack of wolves 就是一群狼， a pack of wild dogs 表示一群野狗。至于在水里面，水生动物跟鱼类常常会用 school 学校这个字。当你说 a school of fish 就表示是一群鱼。那另外你还可以用 a pod of whales 或者是 a pod of dolphins 来指一群鲸鱼啊，或者是一群海豚。这个 pod 是拼作 P-O-D 就是 iPod 那个 pod。 好，那么以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Adore. Beyoncé's fans adore her for her music and the image she presents to the world. Complicated. Joyce explained the complicated procedure several times, but her new assistant was still confused. Distinction. Ron has always been an excellent student, so no one is surprised that he holds the distinction of being first in his class. Maximum. According to fire code, a room of this size can hold a maximum of 100 people at a time. Pollen. In the spring and summer, many people suffer from allergies because that's when the pollen count tends to be the highest.
Okay, everyone. With that, today's article is now complete. But, as always, we sure hope that you guys have enjoyed reading along with us. Anyways, I'm Jeff.
I am Roger.
See you next time.